Sarah Boone picks up her phone. It's 11 p.m. on February 23, 2020. She hits record. Inside a blue suitcase on her apartment floor, her boyfriend Jorge Torres is curled up, trapped. He's begging. "I can't breathe. Seriously, I can't breathe," he gasps. Sarah laughs. She doesn't stop recording. 12 hours later, Jorge is dead. The story Sarah told police seemed simple. A drunken game of hide-and-seek gone wrong. An innocent accident. But then detectives found those videos on her phone. What they showed would shock a nation and reveal a relationship built on violence, control, and a final act of calculated cruelty. This is the case of Sarah Boone, the woman who zipped her boyfriend into a suitcase and left him to suffocate. Did Sarah Boone know what she was doing? Was it a drunken joke gone too far, or a planned murder hidden in plain sight? Keep watching to find out more about this intriguing story. Jorge Torres Jr. was 42 years old when he died. He lived in Winter Park, Florida, a suburb of Orlando. Family, friends, and court reports paint him as someone with a troubled relationship history, with domestic incidents, and someone who could be volatile. But he also had people who cared: his mother, sisters, and a brother, Juan Torres. Juan Torres testified at trial that he spoke with Jorge weekly, and that shortly before his death, he heard Boone yelling in the background and Jorge saying things about choking her. Sarah Boone, 47 at the time of sentencing, was Jorge's longtime partner. Before the suitcase incident, the relationship had a history of calls to law enforcement. Jorge had been arrested multiple times for alleged domestic violence against Sarah. Sarah herself was once arrested in 2018 for alleged battery by strangulation. That charge was ultimately dismissed. Her defense later argued she suffered from the cumulative trauma of abuse. Neighbors testified the couple argued nearly daily. One neighbor, Pearl Walker, said she saw marks on Boone, bruising, injuries. In videos extracted from Boone's phone, Jorge appears to smash a television with a baseball bat. So when the night of February 23 to 24, 2020 arrived, the setting was already charged. The couple lived at 4748 France Lane, apartment number 3, Winter Park, Florida. On February 23, 2020, the two drank wine together in their apartment. Sarah later told investigators they were playing hide-and-seek. At some point, Sarah claimed Jorge climbed into a large blue suitcase for the game. What seemed like a joke escalated. She zipped him in. In video captured on her phone, Jorge pleads, "I can't breathe." He calls her name. Sarah in those videos appears to taunt him, comparing Jorge's asphyxiation to how it feels when she believes he choked or cheated on her. She said she went upstairs, fell asleep, believing Jorge could escape the suitcase on his own. When morning came, February 24, 2020, she realized she hadn't seen him. She unzipped the suitcase and found Jorge unresponsive. Sarah called 911 at 1:02 p.m. "My boyfriend is dead," she told the operator. Her voice sounded panicked. She explained the hide-and-seek game. The suitcase. Falling asleep. She said she didn't mean it. Deputies from the Orange County Sheriff's Office arrived within minutes. They found Jorge's body partially inside the suitcase. Rigor mortis had already set in. He had been dead for hours. Sarah was cooperative. She answered their questions. She seemed distraught. She told them the story again. The wine. The game. The accident. Then she did something that would seal her fate. She handed over her cell phone without hesitation. She said they could look at anything on it. The detectives thanked her. They bagged the phone as evidence. They had no idea what they were about to find. At the police station, forensic investigators plugged Sarah's phone into their computer. They started scrolling through her photos and videos. Most were ordinary. Selfies. Pictures of meals. Nothing unusual. Then they found 2 videos from the night before, taken around 11 p.m. The timestamp matched when Jorge died. They hit play on the first video. The camera showed a blue suitcase on a floor. It was zipped shut, but it was moving, bulging. Someone was inside. Then they heard Jorge's voice. "I can't breathe," he said. His voice sounded strained and desperate. Sarah laughed. She was the one holding the camera. "That's what you do when you choke me," she said. Her voice was cold and mocking. Jorge begged again. "Sarah, I can't breathe." She didn't unzip the suitcase. Instead she said, "That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." The video ended. It was only 46 seconds long. The second video was similar. Jorge was still trapped. Still begging. Sarah was still taunting him. The detectives looked at each other. This wasn't a game. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. The next day, detectives brought Sarah in for a formal interview. They didn't tell her about the videos yet. They wanted to hear her story again. See if it changed. Sarah sat across from two detectives. She was wearing a gray sweatshirt. Her blonde hair was pulled back. She repeated the same story. Hide and seek. Whine. Laughing. Bleep. "Did you check on Jorge during the night?" they asked. "No," she said. "I fell asleep." "Did you hear him calling for you?" "No. I was upstairs." Then they showed her the videos. Her face went blank. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she spoke. "I don't remember recording those." The detectives didn't believe her. The videos were clear. In the videos, she was laughing. She was taunting. She was in complete control. They charged her with second-degree murder. No bail. Sarah Boone was arrested on February 25, 2020. Do you think Sarah was just careless, or she intentionally left her boyfriend in that suitcase overnight to die? Like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to read them. The medical examiner's report confirmed what everyone suspected. Jorge Torres Jr. died of asphyxiation. He was trapped in that suitcase for up to 11 hours. In a fetal position. Unable to move. Unable to breathe properly. The suitcase measured 24 inches by 18 inches. Jorge was small, but not that small. He was crushed inside. His chest couldn't expand properly. Every breath was a struggle. The examiner found other injuries. Scratches on his body. A cut on his lip. Bruising near his shoulder. These injuries were consistent with someone trying to escape. Jorge fought to get out. He couldn't. The report estimated he died sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. That means after Sarah recorded those videos, she left him there for hours. She went upstairs. Got into bed. Went to sleep. While Jorge suffocated alone in the dark. The case against Sarah seemed simple. The videos showed intent. The medical evidence showed cause of death. Prosecutors felt confident. But then something unusual happened. Something that would delay justice for more than 4 years. Sarah couldn't keep a lawyer. Her first court-appointed attorney withdrew. Then her second. Then her third. By the time the case went to trial, Sarah had gone through 8 different lawyers. 7 of them were court-appointed. She wrote letters to the judge. Long, rambling letters. In one, she submitted 58 pages complaining about her attorneys. She called them incompetent. She said they wouldn't listen to her defense. Judge Michael Kranick finally ruled that Sarah had forfeited her right to court-appointed counsel. She'd have to represent herself or find her own lawyer. Sarah showed up to a hearing representing herself. She submitted a hand-drawn advertisement for a lawyer. It was childish. The media picked it up. It went viral. Finally, attorney James Owens agreed to take her case. He was her 9th lawyer. The trial was set for October 2024, almost 5 years after Jorge died. Other delays piled up. The COVID-19 pandemic shut down courts. Then Hurricane Milton hit Florida. Each time, the trial got pushed back. Jorge's family waited. They wanted justice. They wanted closure. Sarah sat in Orange County Jail. No bail. She'd stay there until trial. During this time, prosecutors offered her a deal. Plead guilty to manslaughter. Accept a 15-year sentence. She'd be out in her 50s. Sarah refused. She wanted to take her chances at trial. Her attorney, James Owens, planned to argue battered woman syndrome. He'd say Sarah was a victim too. That years of Jorge's violence pushed her to a breaking point. The prosecution had a different view. They planned to show those videos to the jury. Let them hear Jorge begging. Let them hear Sarah laughing. October 14, 2024. The trial finally began. Almost 5 years after Jorge's death. A jury of 6 was selected. 8 alternates waited in case anyone had to drop out. The courtroom in Orange County was packed. Media from across the country were watching. Assistant State Attorney William J. stood to give opening arguments. He didn't waste time. This defendant zipped Jorge Torres shut in a suitcase, he said. She was able to do this because at the time of his death, he weighed 103 pounds. She did this with malicious intent to punish him. Then she went up to sleep and left him to take his final breaths on this earth alone. The jury listened. Some took notes. Some stared at Sarah. Sarah sat at the defense table. She was wearing a dark blouse. Her expression was blank. James Owens, her attorney, gave his opening. He talked about the history of violence, Jorge's arrests, the choking incident. He said Sarah was a victim of abuse. He said she was drunk that night, not thinking clearly. He didn't explain the videos. Not yet. The prosecution's case was devastating. They played the videos. The courtroom went silent. Everyone heard Jorge's voice. "I can't breathe," seriously. Everyone heard Sarah laugh. Some jurors looked away. Others watched closely. One wiped her eyes. The prosecution showed text messages Sarah sent in the months before Jorge died. In one she wrote, "I'll get rid of him." In another, she complained about Jorge's drinking and behavior. They called the medical examiner to the stand. He walked the jury through Jorge's autopsy, the asphyxiation, the injuries, the timeline. Could he have escaped on his own? The prosecutor asked. No, the examiner said. The suitcase was zipped shut. He would have needed someone to open it from the outside. The defense tried to poke holes. They emphasized Jorge's history of violence. They brought up Sarah's 2018 arrest for strangling him, even though charges were dismissed. But nothing could erase those videos. If you think the evidence speaks for itself in this case, hit that like button, because what happens next is even more shocking. Sarah Boone took the stand in her own defense. It was a risky move. But James Owens believed it was necessary. Sarah sat in the witness box. She was wearing glasses now. She looked older than her 47 years. Owens asked her about the night Jorge died. Sarah told her story again. The wine. The game. She said Jorge climbed into the suitcase willingly. She said they were both laughing. "Why didn't you let him out?" Owens asked. "I thought he could get out himself," Sarah said. "I didn't think he was really stuck." "Why did you go upstairs?" "I was tired. I'd been drinking." "Did you hear him calling for you?" "No." Then the prosecutor got his turn. He didn't go easy on her. "Ms. Boone, in the video, Jorge says, 'I can't breathe.' You heard that, correct?" "Yes." "And you laughed." "I thought he was joking." "He says it multiple times." "You recorded 2 separate videos. You never unzipped the suitcase." Sarah paused. "I don't remember recording the videos." "But you're in them. That's your voice." "Yes." "And you admit you went upstairs and fell asleep?" "Yes." "Leaving Jorge in that suitcase?" "I didn't think he was in danger." The prosecutor paused. He looked at the jury, then back at Sarah. "Ms. Boone, Jorge weighed 103 pounds. You weighed significantly more. You were stronger than him. Why would you put someone weaker than you in a suitcase and zip it shut?" Sarah didn't have a good answer. The defense rested. Closing arguments happened on October 25, 2024. Prosecutor Dave Cacciatore approached the jury. He held up a photo of the suitcase. "Jorge Torres was murdered in this box," he said. "The defendant wants you to believe this was an accident, that she forgot. But you've seen the videos. You've heard Jorge begging. You've heard her laugh." He played the videos one more time. The courtroom was silent except for Jorge's voice. Cacciatore continued. "This wasn't a game. This was punishment. The defendant said it herself in the video. 'That's what I feel like when you cheat on me.' She was punishing him. And when she was done, she left him to die." James Owens gave his closing. He talked about battered woman syndrome again. About Jorge's violence. About Sarah's fear. He asked the jury to consider manslaughter instead of murder. But he couldn't explain away the videos. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood. The judge asked for the verdict. "We find the defendant, Sarah Boone, guilty of second-degree murder." Sarah closed her eyes. She didn't cry. She didn't react. Jorge's family, sitting in the gallery, broke down. His sister sobbed. His brother put his head in his hands. Justice, delayed for almost 5 years, had finally arrived. December 2nd, 2024. Sarah Boone returned to court for sentencing. Judge Michael Cranick didn't hold back. "You showed a shocking indifference to human life," he said. "Jorge Torres begged you to let him out. You heard him. You recorded him. And you left him to die." Sarah was given a chance to speak. She stood. "I know people don't believe me," she said. "But I never meant for Jorge to die. I loved him." The judge didn't look convinced. Jorge's family members gave victim impact statements. His sister described Jorge as funny and kind. She said Sarah took him from them. His brother talked about the nightmares he'd had since seeing the videos online. One family member said directly to Sarah, "You didn't just kill him. You tortured him." Judge Cranick delivered the sentence. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. Sarah Boone would die in prison. She'd never be free again. The case of Sarah Boone forces us to ask difficult questions. What happens in relationships where both people are violent? Where the line between victim and abuser blurs? Sarah claimed she was a battered woman. The evidence showed Jorge had been violent toward her. He'd been arrested multiple times. But did that justify what she did? The jury said no. The videos showed something beyond self-defense. They showed cruelty, mockery, control. Jorge Torres Jr. was not innocent in their relationship. But he didn't deserve to die that way. Trapped, suffocating, alone. Sarah's story about the game never made sense. Adults don't play hide-and-seek in suitcases. The wine bottle she mentioned wasn't enough to cause a blackout. And the videos proved she was fully aware of what was happening. Experts who reviewed the case noted that Sarah never called 911 during the night. Never checked on Jorge. She slept soundly while he died beneath her. That detail, more than anything, showed intent. For more cases where the evidence tells a story the defendant can't explain, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Today, Sarah Boone is inmate number 476390 in the Florida Department of Corrections. She's held at a maximum security facility. She'll spend the rest of her life there. Jorge Torres Jr. is buried in Orlando. His grave is visited regularly by family members who still grieve his loss. The blue suitcase that became Jorge's tomb sits in an evidence locker. A stark reminder of how a moment of cruelty can end a life. The case made national headlines. Not just because of the shocking nature of the crime, but because of those videos. In an age where we document everything, Sarah Boone recorded her own evidence. She created the proof that convicted her. Some legal experts called it one of the most clear-cut murder cases they'd ever seen. The defendant literally filmed herself committing the crime. But Sarah maintained her innocence to the end. In her final statement before sentencing, she said, "People will judge me, but God knows what really happened that night." The jury knew too. They saw the videos. They heard Jorge beg. And they made sure Sarah Boone would never hurt anyone again. What do you think? Could Sarah's claim of battered woman syndrome have been legitimate? Or was this always about control and revenge? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. The case of Sarah Boone reminds us that domestic violence is never one-sided in its impact. Both Sarah and Jorge had been violent. Both had been arrested. But only one of them ended up dead in a suitcase. The warning signs were there. The arrests. The arguments. The cycle of violence that never stopped. Friends and family knew the relationship was toxic. But no one could have predicted it would end this way. If you're in a violent relationship, there's help available. You can easily pick up a phone and call the National Domestic Violence Hotline in your country. You don't have to stay. You don't have to wait. Because sometimes, waiting costs everything. Sarah Boone's case will be studied in law schools for years. As an example of how video evidence can make or break a case. As a cautionary tale about domestic violence. As a reminder that justice, even when delayed, can still be served. Jorge Torres Jr. would have turned 47 this year. He never got that chance. Sarah Boone will die in prison. That's her justice. Whether it's enough is for each of us to decide.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you're going to love what's coming next. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for instant updates on our latest videos. See you in the next one.